right, so I noticed I have a couple new subscribers. I really appreciate that. That's 4 more of you on board that hopefully will help me spread the word on what I'm meaning to communicate with this channel. This channel has an explicit purpose, and its purpose is divergent in several ways, but each one of these is in its own way significant and rather important, and I think you'll come to agree with me. So the first of them, I guess, that I should mention is that the feedback loop, the phenomenon of the feedback loop, is the fundamental unit of reality. Everything you see in front of you is comprised of feedback loops and operates on the basis of feedback loops. Now, I'm not going to delve into that too much in this video, but I'm putting out the claim and I'll explore the next ones with you too so that you can see how they all relate to the feedback loop itself. So that's why they seem very different from each other. For example, on one hand, I'm saying that the feedback loop is the fundamental unit, and on the other hand, I'm talking about in another video, if you notice, about the phenomenon of schismogenesis and how it's being used as a weapon against America. And then in another video, you see me talking about autism. So those are three very different things, seemingly, but they're not. They're all versions of feedback loops. And the reason I bring them to your attention is because they're all monumentally important for what's happening with what's going on today in the world. And I'm going to lay out the proof of that for you so that you don't have to take what I'm saying at face value. So if you go back through my videos, you'll see one where I'm pretty high on weed and I'm talking about complex loops and autism in reality. Take time to look through that video carefully and pay attention to what I come to say towards the end, where I offer up what I would qualify as a fair warning as to the importance of this information and how us in America had to take a look at it first because there was something real at stake. And in that video, I didn't go too much into it because it was a little too much for, basically, from my conversations that I'd had with some people on Reddit, it seemed to be too much for some people to comprehend immediately. And probably, maybe I didn't do a good job explaining it. Maybe they closed themselves off a little bit. Maybe a combination of both. But in any case, there was insufficient communication of the fact of the schismogenesis phenomenon that I saw at play, which is what provokes autism. So schismogenesis is a type of feedback loop, and it's a very prominent feedback loop in the natural environment. Species operate on the basis of feedback. Your perceptual modes, I propose, are molded by feedback loops that operate as schismogenesis. So people end up with all sorts of different perceptual loops as a function of this, including with autism, bipolarity, schizophrenia, psychopathy, and just regular modes of perceiving as well. So it doesn't even have to be anything too drastic. This is just part of how we interact with each other. So because the feedback loop of schismogenesis is so prominent in the environment, it's everywhere. Because it's everywhere, it's one of the first feedback loops that I noticed and really got to study. And that's when I realized that it provoked these perceptual modes. But then I noticed another thing, and I'll back this up with evidence right in this video. I'll link you to it. The other thing I noticed was that schismogenesis had been weaponized, and it was being used against America. So that video, Schismogenesis, weaponized communication, I think it's called, goes into it. So look into that. And I would encourage you at the same time to go to my patreon.com page, patreon.com/midnightbastard. Please contribute. I'm at a point right now where it's extremely important for this to take off, because I think this information needs to get out there as soon as possible. So if you can support it, if you understand the information, if you have questions, please do ask them, because I'm more than happy to answer and cite and provide sources. So visit my patreon.com page if you can. It's patreon.com/midnightbastard. Patreon.com/midnightbastard. And you'll see my article on string theory. You'll see my articles on autism. I encourage you to make note of the date. If you go to the U.S. Copyright Office website and you go to their search bar, you input the title "How Autism Works." You'll see my copyright, and you'll see my name. You'll see it's Jock Avalis. So you'll see my name. You'll see my copyright for How Autism Works, where I also explain how the fundamental unit of reality is the feedback loop itself. So I guess I stumbled across something that was important, and in recognizing how important it was, I stuck with it. And in recognizing how important it is, I'm meaning to bring it to you. So that's what I've been attempting to do with these videos. So you subscribed to my channel because you recognized something in what I'm saying. Something struck a chord with you, and you're on to something. You're on to something big, and you should be proud of yourself that you're one of the first ones. Because not for nothing, but we're in very historic circumstances right now, and this plays directly into it. So one of the things I hope to do, in addition to promoting the answer to what autism is and explaining it to others, and explaining how the feedback loop creates, I don't like calling it a simulation, but the simulation of reality. So putting all that aside, we first have to probably save the Republic of the United States. And that would come about through educating ourselves as to the phenomenon of schismogenesis and how it operates. And the source that I'm going to provide you is a recent document from the Pentagon, from the Army, that if you go to, I think it's page 13, you'll see where it starts referencing the phenomenon of schismogenesis. So the phenomenon of schismogenesis is what's provoking all the chaos in America right now. But it does something more than that, because going back to what I said before, remember, it provokes different mental states. So one of the things it does is that it actually, if applied correctly, and it seems to be being applied correctly by our adversaries, is that it actually can provoke psychosis, and not just on the individual level, but at the group level, at the regional level, at the whatever dimension you want to imagine. It can provoke chaos. So it's absolutely important for every person to familiarize themselves with schismogenesis. And schismogenesis was first discovered by Gregory Bateson back in the 1930s, when he went to go study a tribe in Papua New Guinea. I think you probably read that in my comment. Well, I discovered schismogenesis incidentally 90-something years later, so he gets the full credit for it. But it plays into current events. So that's why I'm meaning to communicate this information, and I ask that you please look further into it, expect more videos from me, and please take me seriously. Please take my work seriously, and if you can, please support it at patreon.com/midnightbastard. Thank you.